Hello everyone and welcome back to the Vegan Violinist. Today I'm going to be reviewing Wave 1 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass. So a couple weeks ago I purchased the DLC and I gotta be honest, with what we have so far, I think it's amazing. And I thought it was video worthy to talk about. So before we start, I'm going to give a few channel announcements. One thing, we're almost at 100 subscribers, which is really good. Just 2 more to get to 100. I also recently got a new microphone, so now my sound quality is going to be a lot better. And today, just because to celebrate the occasion, I'm wearing my very classic Mario Kart hoodie. Because why not? Alright, so I just wanted to say one more thing before we start. I'm only going to be doing Wave 1 in this video just because it's going to be a lot to cover in a single video. But I'll shortly upload a second video of Wave 2. So anyways, without further ado, let's start the video with the Golden Dash Cup Paris Promenade. Alright, so Paris Promenade is first up in the Golden Dash Cup from Mario Kart Tour. Now, this one is a little bit of an interesting one for me to talk about. That being because I think it's kind of in the middle when it comes to how you would rate a Mario Kart track. There's nothing that's like significantly memorable about it other than the fact that it's got like the famous Paris landmarks like the Eiffel Tower, but there's nothing really significantly wrong with it either, and I'm at least glad for that fact. I think it was a pretty decent way to start off the DLC. Nintendo did an alright job with it. Of course, it's not my favourite track in the DLC, but I'm pretty satisfied with how it is. I reckon the aesthetics are really nice. You can see all the trees in the park. I think that gives a cool, homey and cozy kind of way to think about the track. I enjoy it quite a lot when I play it. I like how they've introduced in this one the new mechanic where there are the paths that close up in each lap on the road. I think that's an interesting way to bring it to Mario Kart, and overall I reckon I'd give this track maybe a 8.5 out of 10. It's pretty good. Anyways, on to the next one. Okay, Toad Circuit. Now, I gotta say, this one is very bland. It's one of those tracks that it's like, it's got a boring design, but it's still fun to play on. Like, it's still an enjoyable track to race on. There are a few other tracks like this in the Mario Kart series, like Mario Circuit, Luigi Circuit, so on. You get the idea. Although, I'm glad this at least has some personality or originality, because, I mean, it's Toad themed, it looks cool, I mean, it's still got, like, all the tracks to race on and that. It's kind of bland though, so I think I'll give it maybe like a 6 out of 10. But now we'll move on to N64 Choco Mountain. Alright, Choco Mountain, here we are. Now, I gotta say, I like this one a lot. The only other Mario Kart game I've played other than 8 Deluxe is Mario Kart Wii, so a majority of the tracks that are featured in this DLC I'm not very familiar with. And the remaster of N64 Choco Mountain is a great first impression, in my opinion, because first you start going down this chocolate canyon, I guess, where the road is in the middle, but then you go into this really sick cave with a bunch of crystals. It gives me a little bit of Wario's Gold Mine vibes, except it's not as big in that. It's got, the crystals are like blue in colour, there's even a cool shortcut you might have seen back there, but you need a mushroom for it to be useful. I think overall this track is really cool. The shade of brown they use throughout pretty much the entire track layout is a good shade that Nintendo picked. It's not too light to look weird, it's not too dark to look disgusting. It's got a nice balance, and I appreciate that Nintendo went to the effort to remaster this track. I like it a lot, and I'll give this one a 9.5 out of 10. Next one. Okay, Coconut Mall. This one practically carries the entire wave. Literally, this is my favourite track in this wave. I think it's awesome. First of all, it's from Mario Kart Wii, so it's pretty much one of the only tracks so far in the DLC that I'm actually familiar with. It's a little bit biased, but I mean, This is one of the most iconic tracks in the entirety of the Mario Kart series, and I can see why. It's got an amazing aesthetic, and it's so colourful, so many bright colours. There are a lot of references as well that I think give a good charm to this place. The layout is awesome, and the soundtrack. Oh, I can't even begin on the soundtrack. It is amazing. The level of nostalgia it gives me from playing Mario Kart Wii like 5 years ago. This track is amazing. This gives me the same type of vibes as Clip Joint Calamity in Cuphead, really. And I think if you haven't heard of this track, then you should definitely check it out to see what it is, because I reckon you'd be very interested. Anyways, now we're going to move on to the Lucky Cat Cup, moving on from the Golden Dash Cup. We're going to see the other 4 tracks, and now let's get introduced to them. Love Coconut Mall. Oh, by the way, Coconut Mall is an 11 out of 10. Okay, Tokyo Blur in the Lucky Cat Cup. It's from Mario Kart Tour. So, I'm not very surprised that Nintendo put this in the Booster Course Pass. It's already in Mario Kart Tour, one of the tracks, and Nintendo is a Japanese company, which I'm sure you would know, so I don't see why they wouldn't want to do that. But I don't blame them. This track actually is pretty awesome. It's like Paris Promenade, but it's got a Tokyo vibe, because that's what it is. And I think the structure is awesome, the layout, that's pretty much the same thing. I like how well all of the details are. It gives me a lot of Tokyo vibes, even though I've never been there, but I think this track is a great representation of it in the Mario Kart series. It definitely could be some improvements, but not really many. The only thing I'd say maybe is I reckon it would be cool if maybe this one was set at night. But then again, New York Minute has that, so I can see why they would want to make this one at day as well. Then again, the other 3, including this one, are at day, but nonetheless, this is a great track. So I'd probably give this a 9 out of 10. It's really great. Other than that, there's really nothing significant for me to complain about. Okay, Shroomridge is a bit of a tough one to talk about, like Paris Promenade, but Paris Promenade was actually good. This one still is good, but it's kind of a lot worse. You see, the layout I can say is, well, the layout is probably a lot more bland than Toad Circuit, if not the same or worse, but I think the overall design of this one does make up for it. It has a really, it represents it in a really cool way, although it seems a little bit repetitive to Toad Circuit, but I don't mind that too much. It's cool how you see the toads cheering you on with all the trees and stuff you go past. Although I feel like they've done this a lot in the previous Mario Kart games, including this one even, like, a lot. This one feels a little bit repetitive, and there feels like there's a little bit of a lack of an original idea, but overall, it's still a fun track to play, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10. On to the next one. Okay, so now let's review Sky Garden from the Game Boy Advance. So, this one's alright, but I feel like it's sort of got the same problem as Shroomridge had. There's a bit of a lack of an original idea, I think. This one to me seems sort of just a combination of Cloudtop Cruise and Wild Woods with a fairy tale and sky and beanstalk aspect. It's not necessarily a bad way to combine them, it's definitely different, but I feel like it's not different enough to feel unique in a special sort of way that's enjoyable. It still is enjoyable as a track, but yeah, this is sky aspect or fairy tale aspect has been done quite a few times before in the Mario Kart series already, so I would have liked to see maybe something else, unless it would have been worse, but it probably wouldn't have been. Overall, this track is still cool. I like the brick road. It's got some variety. It's definitely not the exact same, although I reckon it could be quite a bit better. So I'll give this one maybe a 7.5 out of 10. On to the final track. Alright, so on to the final track, Ninja Hideaway. This is by far my favourite track in the Lucky Bell Cup, because all the other ones are kind of bad, except for Tokyo Blur. But yeah, this one is really cool. The only slight problem that I have significantly with this track at all is kind of just a minor version of the Sky Garden and Shroomridge problem. It's just that this one is sort of similar to Tokyo Blur, but only because of the fact that this is like a ninja hideaway, because that's, you know. And even though this I think this is really good. One of the reasons that I think it's really good is the fact that this one actually kind of listened to what my suggestion was about before to make Tokyo Blur even better than it already was. Because this one's actually set at night, and I reckon it looks way cooler that way. So, it's very good aesthetics. I think the soundtrack is cool. It's definitely got an awesome layout. The layout is spectacular. Like, you just see yourself going onto these platforms on the roof, and there's air holes that can blow you up when you want to go up to the higher platform. And then you even go upstairs onto a higher story. You even go onto the higher floorboards holding up a ceiling at one point. That's amazing, really. I love the way this track is. And it really couldn't be any better, much. There's almost nothing you could do to improve it. I have to give this one a 10 out of 10, because this is great. Alright, so now let's give an overall review. Alright, so an overall review of the Wave now. Each cup, I reckon they were pretty decent. Golden Dash Cup was definitely alright. Paris Promenade and Coconut Mall were probably my favourite two, as well as Choco Mountain. Toad Circuit kinda bring it down a bit, so I think I'll give it maybe a 9 out of 10, because it had a lot of variety and really good ideas. And the Lucky Cat Cup, it was alright, but definitely not as good as the Golden Dash Cup, because I feel like there wasn't really much variety in this cup. It was still good, but I reckon there was a bit more ideas they could spread around with this. It's still alright, though, nonetheless. And overall, I reckon this wave is pretty solid. I'd give this wave maybe an 8 out of 10, because it's got a lot of good ideas and ways to express the tracks. And now, we'll have to go on and continue in the next video, because we're going to review these 8 tracks and give a review on them all, which I do really like all, by the way. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to like and subscribe if you'd like to get ourselves to 100 subscribers. I'd be really happy about that. But anyways, that's all for this video, and I will see you guys next time. Sasha out.